Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Zoltán Kun, and I'm going to speak about the Fertö Neusiedlersee transboundary cultural World Heritage Site. It's a great pleasure that Silly Komish invited me to do this presentation about the interaction of cultural and natural World Heritage Sites. So basically, my presentation is about how not to develop tourism in a landscape. And I will have about 15 minutes. I try to be shorter than 15 minutes. The presentation outline is I first explain the outstanding universal value of the area, explain the threats and the problems, what civil society work has already been done and planned against the development and the threats, and what successes and challenges we are still having. My presentation is basically, I'm here representing the Great Lake Coalition, the Friends of Fertö Lake, and the Wild Europe organization. The Fertö Neusiedlersee is a transboundary World Heritage Site. It's a cultural World Heritage Site. It's a mating place for cultures for 8 millennia, where basically the evolutionary symbiosis of human and nature resulted in a variable landscape with quite remarkable rural architecture, but also some of the 18th, 19th century palaces as well around the lake. It used to be part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, but now is divided between Austria and Hungary as two independent countries. Apart from the cultural heritage, obviously, as I said, there is remarkable natural heritage as well in the area. Just a few photographs. On the Hungarian side, the only remarkable architecture heritage was represented by reef-roofed houses on the lake, actually. So they were standing, as you can see on the picture, inside the water. Wooden houses. Then the reed, actually, the reed is the natural heritage, which hosts a lot of species, and the wine making or vineyards from culture perspective. It holds numerous nature conservation titles as well. It's a transboundary national park. Parts of it registered, the Hungarian part is registered in the IUCN category 2, and it includes strict protection element as well. So category 1B. It's a Ramsar site, a Natura 2000 site, which is protected under the Habitat and the Bird Directive of the European Union. The area is also UNESCO Marine Biosphere Reserve, and the Euro Park Federation certified it as an exemplary transboundary protected area. But still, the Hungarian government plans a tourism infrastructure investment which threatens not only the natural heritage, but actually also the outstanding universal value of this transboundary World Heritage Site. What is planned? And again, these are all planned inside the core area of the World Heritage Site, inside the national park, inside the Natura 2000 site, inside the core area of the Ramsar site. Basically, under the umbrella of an existing beach, they say we are going to do reconstruction, but the investment enlarges the tourism infrastructure at least 4 times. So the total coverage is going to be about 60 hectares with 4 different types of accommodation. As you can see on the picture, 4-star hotel with almost 100 rooms, 26 apartment houses right on the lake shore, motel and camping, but they are also planning indoor and outdoor sport complex with an artificial grass football field. They increase the harbor installations to up to 850 yacht and 450 paddling boat, plus a parking lot for cars with a capacity of 880 parking lots. But again, they use as an excuse that they built it as an ecotourist center, while which is just ridiculous. I mean, having an ecotourist center also inside the core area of the World Heritage Site and inside the national park, which will increase the traffic, and so it will increase the wildlife collisions inside the area is just ridiculous. So that's not an excuse. Even the ecotourism center should be built outside the area. Just a few images. What do they plan? Modern looking building and the plage. And again, we are seeing the plage inside the national park. That's all unacceptable. The current status of the investment, that it's 100% state budget, no EU fund, no private fund, everything, even the hotels, even the accommodations, they're all built from state money, from taxpayers' money. The government created the so-called status of a priority investment for national economy, which is used to limit the access to information for ordinary people and also limit the number of people who could be considered as client in accessing information. This investment got the status as a priority investment for national economy, but it lacks the public importance, and this was admitted even in its own environmental impact assessment. So there is no public or social or economic overriding interest in the area to build this tourism infrastructure. It's a real life threat because currently the investment has actually started. We called UNESCO and ICOMOS to help us, and UNESCO actually sent a letter last June to the government to stop the investment. What you can see in the picture is not a Photoshop. It actually says national park, and there is an arrow which points that the national park is a transportation route. Again, this is not Photoshopped. This is a real life picture. The construction started in December 2020. Permissions to phase 1 and phase 2 are provided, although the permission for phase 1 is under disputed. And fortunately, there is an ongoing investigation, which I will explain later on. So that's the current state of affairs. The road to access to the former beach is closed by security guards. Trucks are on the site, and various construction machinery has been deployed on the area. You cannot access the site even on the water, so the security guards would stop you if you paddle to the place. The problems actually are around the legal but also moral requirements. At least 3 of the planned buildings do not meet the architecture recommendation set in the World Heritage Site Management Plan. These are the 4-star hotel, the motel, and the sport complex. There was no proper transboundary consultation done in the area. So the Austrian World Heritage Association is not supporting the investment because they have not been informed actually about the investment. There was no consultation with either ICOMOS, UNESCO, Ramsar, EU, or I would even say IUCN, which could have been consulted because it's, again, an IUCN Category 2 national park. There are serious environmental and nature conservation problems through the ignorance of the Espoo Treaty and also through the ignorance of the EU nature directives. As I said earlier, this area is a Natura 2000 site. And because the investment is done through government funding, we believe that this will seriously distort the regional local tourism market as well, because the current existing tourism accommodation will face with a competition that is coming from the government itself. Problem 1, the environmental permission. The EU legislation basically requests an appropriate assessment, which was not done. A newly created 13-hectare artificial surface will cover the area, which will limit the area's ability to actually mitigate climate change. And there was a lack of appropriate transboundary impact assessment. There was no transboundary impact assessment actually, because they were not considering the impacts during the operational phase. Problem 2, damages on the outstanding universal value. As I again said earlier, the plans do not fit into the existing management plan of the World Heritage Site. There was no discussion with the Austrian partners. The only significant World Heritage architecture World Heritage value, namely the reed roof houses, they have already been demolished. And the new buildings, as you could see in the pictures, they have no link to the traditional historic style of the area. Problem 3, there is insufficient public consultation. Sorry for the Hungarian image, but basically it says that the name of the two people, the MP and the director of the non-profit limited liability company, which is actually carrying out the construction. Whenever we ask a question from them, they actually choose from 5 different standard answer. This question is not actual. You can see on the top blue, the yellow says this is an attack of the left-wing parties. Then the gray says Hungarians have the right to access the beach as well, and the same quality as the Austrians. Then the orange says this question cannot be a question. And I'm serious, we received already that answer from the government. Or the last one, the light green, says we are actually working based on the interest of the Austrian economy. So the scale of the investment has increased since the beginning by 16 times. And we don't really receive true answers to our questions. So at the end, we decided to set up a new association. A movement started in 2019 when we first heard about this investment based on a Facebook group. But because of legal reasons, we actually set up a legal entity, which is called Friends of Fertö Lake. We also have an Austrian counterpart or a partner in the Austrian side as well. We are also the founder of the coalition of the Great Lakes or Large Lakes in Hungary, which is a coalition of 6 NGOs. What we asked from the UNESCO, basically we asked UNESCO simply to inscribe the area on the list of endangered sites, to initiate a reactive mission, and to check the effectiveness of the transboundary cooperation. What we are really thankful, because we received also a letter signed by 30 international NGOs earlier, among them the Wild Heritage Foundation as well. The first success we had is that the European Commission actually started an EU pilot investigation, and we get several MEPs asking written questions to keep pushing the EC that they will do a proper investigation of the investment. Based on our 2 years' work, actually Ecomos Hungary at the end, earlier this year, issued a critical review of the investment. Ecomos International also had a very critical assessment of the area, which resulted that UNESCO sent a letter in June calling our government to stop the investment as it is. The next step, we hope, is going to be a reactive monitoring mission, and the area hopefully will be listed on the list of endangered sites. There are also ongoing legal cases. We mobilized the public. Greenpeace Hungary has submitted a legal case against the Environment Commission, and we managed to get the Ombudsman to actually assess local building regulation. The Coalition for Large Lakes, and I only have now 2 more slides, actually is based on an earlier NGO statement that was co-signed by 74 Hungarian NGOs in October 2020. Later on, following this up, we established a coalition for Great Lakes or Large Lakes by 6 local organizations working for Fertö Lake, Velencei Lake, Balaton, and the Tatai Old Lake. We proposed a parliamentary resolution, which actually was not discussed yet by our parliament, but we started an online consultation in order to convince our president that he is going to submit this resolution to the parliament plenary. Why our president? Because he's fanatic about fishing and angling, and he actually announced in September last year that we are going to double our effort to protect our freshwater habitats here in Hungary. The last point that I have, that basically there is a legal obligation, for instance, to protect the lake shores in Hungary, but the 4-star hotel and the apartment houses are actually built right on where the water meets the lake shore. And we are actually pursuing now the Water Management Authority to stop the investment and start a legal procedure against the investment as well. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this was very informative. And if you have any question, you can contact me on one of these email addresses that you can see here. Thank you.